Hey everybody, welcome to the next episode of the Strand Tennis Center podcast, filled with tips, advice, tennis, not tennis, just life advice too, whatever you need. Like it on YouTube, share it on the podcast as well. Thank you. Take attendance better. You can't have an extra person on here for pickleball. You got to kick them out. Take attendance, and if they're not there, they're not there. If they're not on the list, get rid of them. Look, he's recording this. Get rid of them. You got to get rid of those people.
I know pickleball is taking over the world.
Do we want to have a podcast on pickleball versus tennis? Let's do that. How about we have a discussion on that?
Okay.
CJ, welcome to the Strand Tennis Center podcast, people. CJ just popped in for a second. He won't be here for long because he doesn't like to chat too much. Only during his lessons. He talks a lot, which is good. He helps a lot of people out. I like it. He's a good communicator. Me, he doesn't give me much on the podcast. He makes me stew. Makes me sit, wait for a gem of information from the CJ. See? Nothing. Nothing from CJ gave me nothing. Zero. But this podcast is about pickle versus tennis. And not against each other. We're just comparing. CJ, give me a couple of pros for pickle. What you like about it?
Pros of pickle, I think that for people who are a little bit older, the movement. For movement, it's definitely better in pickleball. It's less, of course, movement. So for older folks, they can, it's better on their body. Yep. That's, I think, one big positive for pickleball. Another positive is just the overall, I feel like, just the play is definitely can kind of go toward a certain person depending on like what level you're playing at. Right? Like if you're a beginner, right, everybody is going to be pretty much very new to it. Whereas you get really advanced, like in tennis, I would say the opposite is that some kids or some beginners, right, they can pick it up a lot easier. Pickleball is the same way, but I think that again it's a lot of strategy, which is different. And
so, are you saying like my point to that was I almost was going to say the opposite? Are you saying pickle is harder for people or easier?
I think it's easier.
Okay. So we're on the same page. We're on the same page with it because my one pro with pickleball. And it could be a con for other people, but the pro is that it's very inclusionary. Like, you can learn it quickly. Like, we were talking about this, too. We were talking about your paddle the other day. You can get out there, get a tutorial for 2 hours, and kind of have some aptitude and feel good about yourself, which is great because it's not much court coverage. You don't have to have super amount of cardiovascular effort, and you don't have to have super hand-eye coordination in the sense of you don't have to be too smooth because you're basically blocking and shoving. At tennis, you need a little bit more fluidity. You have to be smoother. It's just a harder game. So that's why it's very popular, I think, right now, because I think if you look at it in a generational thing, the baby boomers are getting older. They can't play tennis as much because it's harder on your body. So there's a lot of baby boomers playing it because there is a ton of them, right, because of the baby boom, obviously, and now they're getting into pickleball. In general, I think, Santi, like we were talking last podcast, people don't like things very difficult anymore. They like things being easier. So when things are easier, they're more inclined to come back to it. Tennis is a harder sport, so if you go out there and you give a lesson to somebody and they don't take to it right away, that's where the teacher comes in and it really has to make sure that the person is enjoying themselves but learning. But that's where the hard part is because they'll come out and go, wow, this is really hard. I only hit 4 or 5 balls that are consistent. But in pickle, you could have a 10-ball rally the first time. You cannot do that in tennis. You will not have a 10-ball rally if you just first started playing tennis. And so it gets addictive. If you do well and you feel like, wow, I want to do this again and again and again, I think that's the number one pro for pickle. For tennis enthusiasts or tennis purists, I think it's a negative because those people will be like, well, things should be hard and I can't believe this is easy. Let's make it difficult. But there's both sides to others. What's another pro or con that you can think of?
Another pro is that I feel like a lot of the time pickleball is kind of I wouldn't say effortless, but again, in tennis, you're swinging more. You're using a little more energy. You have to be a little more aggressive in tennis. And for pickleball, it's not about really how hard you can hit it. Of course, you're hitting it hard, you can definitely win, but it's not really about how hard you can hit it in pickleball, which I feel like in tennis, you need to be a little bit more aggressive, to take control. Where in pickleball, you can kind of just block, or you can dink, and you can, always reset the point a lot easier, I think, in pickleball. And
similar to paddle, like the platform tennis. If you hit it too hard, right? If you hit it too hard, hello, Emma, how are you? If you hit it too hard, don't go in front of the podcast. We're actually recording something. Sorry, Em. You can talk to us. What do you need?
Are there any masks?
She has to get them immediately.
A kid asked.
No, I don't think we have any, Em. Look at this in the middle of the podcast. No, we don't. We don't have any. Emma, you have just destroyed... There you go. It's right. You just destroyed our flow.
I'm sorry.
Thanks, Emma. Pleasure.
Sorry.
What a great cast. Anyways, so it doesn't matter. We just continue and cast on. That's part of the Strand. It's live. Someone needs a mask, we get it for them.
Live and raw, or live and raw.
So I think with platform tennis, that's the key, is you hit it too hard and the ball's just going to bounce off the fence or the wire and it comes back softer, and you don't want to do that. Yeah, so there's more nuance to it. You can't just bang the ball in pickle, because there's people that are going to dink you and be really soft and make you bend, and if you try to overhit, you're going to be in big trouble. Yeah, sure. No, there's a nuance in the strategy. What other... The other con is just something simple, like people don't like the noise, right? They don't like the loud... we had a woman playing a USTA match, and they were doing a drill of pickleball next to it, and they were hitting the wall. And the woman just said, "I'm out of here. I can't deal with it. It's interesting. It happens. It just bothers some people. It sets them off." But the noise, then you start to get like white noise, and you don't notice it after a while. That's one thing, I guess, a con. Anything else?
Yeah, actually, another con I feel like for pickleball is just kind of the overall like scoring. I feel like a lot of people struggle with the way that pickleball is scored, and the other little smaller rules that come into pickleball, like the no-hit zone, which is the kitchen, and on the server, or if the server is serving, they have to wait for that ball to bounce before they can, volley. I feel like that for some people it's a con, because I think that a lot of people kind of struggle with that, or just struggling to remember and realizing that you have to wait for those things to happen before you can go forward and be more aggressive.
So there's a little bit of a learning curve of figuring out the rules, right? Yeah. I messed up the rules a couple times. We played together and messed up. You're standing in the wrong spot. Move back, move up. Like we said, you'll be like, yeah, I know.
It is a little confusing. So I feel like that is like one of the biggest things. I mean, even today, people like you can go in the kitchen if the ball bounces, but people still, even at a little bit of a higher level, still didn't realize that you can do that. And so people are like, oh, you can do that. And I said, yeah. And that kind of caught people they were surprised that you can do that. So just little things that I feel like are just kind of, you have to really remember. And that's like a big con, I think, in my opinion.
All those little rules, yeah. I mean, I guess, if you look back at it, when you were playing tennis as a kid, were there a bunch of little rules that you couldn't remember? I don't know. Is it the same way? And you're just like, I'm just so used to tennis. I've been playing forever.
It's probably more that, I'm just used to it. Like, yeah. I mean, I feel like tennis, personally, for me, I just feel like that it's I've been playing tennis for such a long time that it's a lot easier for me just to kind of pick it up, and I don't have to play for a couple of months, and I feel like I get right back in, and I'm kind of right back in there.
Well, you played as a kid, right? Second nature. That's why pickleball is so popular, because you don't have to play as a kid. You can get out there and go, oh, I feel pretty good, and that's what it is. That's why when you play as a kid, anything you learned before you become an adult, you can really be fluent at it, even with the language. They say if you learn it before puberty, you become very fluid in it. With a language, you can't learn the native tongue of anything after you're an adult. So it's just like tennis. Like, you'll see people that practice tennis, say they're, 20 and above, and they just picked it up. They can have a good stroke, but it's very hard to have that smooth stroke. You can see when someone has played when they're 5, 6, 7, 8, it's just born in their hand. You can see an adult, he's pretty good, but you can tell right away when someone hasn't played as a kid, even when they just pick up the racket, how they pick it up. Like, Like, hey, look at this, Santi. I got props today. Props. So some people will just pick up a racket like this, and you'll be like, this person hasn't played, or you know what I mean? And they won't hold it like this, or they won't hold it like that, or they'll just be like, hey, you know, when do we start? And you're like, this is gonna be a long lesson, Santi. It's gonna be trouble. So you can just. You know, it's just like learning, like picking up a paddle, like that. The paddle, get your head paddle over there. Like I wouldn't even like. Do people, or are they just tennis people, right? That they pick it up a certain way, or is it this? Is it just the same thing? Like I mean, this is so small, you wouldn't even like know whether someone. It's like this is like turned into a podcast. How to tell a tennis player or not a tennis player by how they hold a racket. I don't know. Do they just hold it this way? It's the same thing like pickle. I mean,
same thing as pickle.
Paddle. Tennis.
Tennis paddle.
No, but fluidity is very hard to teach as an adult. And that's why when you play paddle, you can shove it more and you can push it and you can feel more comfortable. That's all right. Come on in. We've been interrupted by a ton of people. Say hello, Nora.
Hi.
Pickle or paddle, pro or con? Give me one pro, one con of each. Come on, you can jump right in. Jump right in. That's the camera.
Okay, one pro of...
One pro
of
pickle, one con of pickle, one pro of tennis,
I think
one con of tennis.
For pickleball, it's really easy to pick up, but there's not as much movement because the court's way smaller. For tennis, I think it's way harder to like nail your hand-eye coordination, but it's like way more. I feel like you move way more, so it's more exercise.
So it's very similar to what we're saying. It's more rewarding in tennis eventually. Thanks. Nora's working hard. What effort? Get another demo. Always at the right time. So yes, I think it's more rewarding. Like this is just me. I guess I'm old school because I've been doing this for a while. It's more rewarding if something is harder. That's what I feel. I think it's much more rewarding that tennis may take me 6 more months or 3 more months, but when I can accomplish something, it's much more rewarding. It's like anything. It's like, you want me to give you $100 or do you want to earn it? Don't answer that right away. He's like, I'll take the 100. But
you offer
it. I know that's a problem. But something earned is much better than something giving.
I agree.
And I think, listen, if you look at it relatively, okay, so you say somebody doesn't have great aptitude. So pickle in itself is hard for them. You'll see people out there, they just don't have a lot of athletic ability, and pickle itself is hard, and if they make some headway, I think that's great. I think it's a super positive thing because I don't think they'd be tennis players at all. I think they're talking about, I think they make a big argument that pickleball's eating tennis. I don't think a lot of those players would be playing tennis anyways. It's too difficult, it's too frustrating, it's two separate sports to me. Mm-hmm. Playing pickle is a totally different thing than playing tennis. You don't lose those people when you talk on a business-wise, oh, we're losing people. You're not. Those people are not going to take it up. They're not going to play it because they just don't have the aptitude and they've been frustrated for some reason about it. Mm-hmm. So I think you got actually two different sets of clientele. A lot of these pickle people I've never seen on the tennis court. Have you, Santi? Have you guys? I mean, no, right? So they're two different businesses, really.
But I think that there definitely is more tennis players going and trying out at least pickleball, I think.
Okay.
Which I see. I mean, I've talked to some people, and some people do say I've come from a tennis background. A couple of years ago, they played, or as a kid they played tennis, and now pickleball. Maybe if it's an injury or something that's restricting them from all the movement, and that's why again I feel like that pickleball is a good thing. It's because again it's more about the not as much movement where anybody can do it.
Okay.
I think. And
I think the pro and the con on both of these is pickleball has become prize money tournaments. You can travel all over the place. I think this influx of tennis players, good college tennis players that didn't make it on the tour, filling that vacuum of winning a bunch of money on the pickleball tour is huge because you're not getting professional tennis players picking pickleball. They're playing tennis. But you don't have anybody that learned pickleball at 5 years old, played college in pickle, and now trying to play professionally. You don't have any of those people. You've got former tennis players that were really good going, wow, I can make some money here. So that's an interesting influx. It's going to take a little time to close that delta when all of a sudden there's kids, It's going to take a while. They're 15, 16, learning, and all of a sudden they're on the pickleball tour. There is I don't know the name because I don't know pickleball well enough. A daughter and a mother playing on the tour, playing like tournaments together. I think I don't know, she's a teenager or something, but she's obviously was a tennis player, but they're winning money, and you can see opportunities for pros to make a decent living traveling around and playing because it is blown up. I mean, every time you look, there's a tournament going on, and there's a decent turnout of people. I went to a tournament in Pennsylvania all day. I mean, there was hundreds and hundreds of people playing pickleball, people watching. It's incredible how it's blown up.
Well, I think give pickleball another couple years, and you'll definitely start seeing the young kids really kind of shining through, and kind of just like in tennis. I mean, tennis has been around forever, but I think that with pickleball starting to really kind of explode, I think that give it a couple more years for like the littler kids to kind of get involved in it. And I think that it's definitely going to change the sport in a good way.
Yeah, I think once they put it into high schools and they start putting it into middle schools, because the courts are there, right? You just got to paint the lines. Why wouldn't you have like an abbreviated pickleball season for these kids? And then once it's in the school system, forget it. Mm-hmm. Then once a college pickleball team comes out. Mm-hmm. Well, give me your over-under, Santi, you, on when a college pickleball team, not like a club team, an official, like, Division I, Division II, Division III college college pickleball program. Anybody give me a bet, Santi?
I would say 7.
7 years?
No sooner than 7 years.
Okay, so over-under on 7, before or after?
I would say before. I think it's going to take almost like 5 years, maybe even 4 years. I think that right now pickleball is just, I mean, it's everywhere. You go to Florida, there's even arenas that are like even like indoor tennis. They look like tennis facilities that are just filled with pickleball.
Yeah.
It's just anywhere you go, any place where there's a little bit more retirement homes, it's everywhere. So I think that pickleball is definitely going to be even growing even more. And
make a little side bet, boys. You're over 7. He's under.
How much are you throwing down?
I can see club teams, right?
Yeah, I can see club.
Like in college, club teams.
Yep.
But do you want like actual?
Yeah, I want to club teams. I think it's going to happen sooner.
Club teams going to happen within like a year.
It's probably happened somewhere. I don't even know. It's probably happened.
I started playing my first time playing pickleball was in high school. I mean, in high school gym class, we played it one time.
So that was what, 5?
It had to been. It was like
5 years ago.
5 years ago. It was like probably my first time ever playing pickleball, learning about it a little bit in gym class, and playing it. It was fun, and I didn't really think much about it. I just thought that this was another racket sport, which, again, coming from a tennis background, I grew up, like I said, playing tennis, playing ping pong. It came very natural. Anybody who has any kind of a hand-eye coordination and can use a racket, I feel like can be really good at the sport if they put the time and the work into it. And for me, like pickleball, I said like 5 years ago I was like, what is this sport? And I wasn't too big of a fan of it. The sound definitely bothered me, but it was fun because it could be fast paced depending on who you're playing with.
Okay.
And if you're playing with somebody who's of course a little bit weaker, it can be slow. But you get those good kids or good people playing, and it can be really fast, and it's about the hand-eye coordination and the reaction, which I like. I like somebody smacking the ball at me. I like reacting to them, and I feel good when I hit those cool shots that you're like, whoa, how did somebody do that?
Yeah.
Those shots to me are like the most fun. And pickleball, it's all about getting the ball smacked at you or dinking, and so or blocking, and that's why I honestly really like pickleball, is because of that kind of the aspect of somebody hitting the ball hard at me, but being able to deflect or to put back a harder shot, to me is very satisfying, I think.
Yeah, the tennis guy has turned pickle champion.
Haven't turned full pickle.
I
still love tennis.
Haven't turned full pickle. That'd be a nice little T-shirt. I've turned full pickle. Strand tennis. No, look. I think it doesn't matter what you're doing as long as you're out there playing a sport. I'm agnostic to the whole thing. I don't have any kind of opinion on either. Look, again, I like things that are hard. Again, but I don't have an opinion. There's no judgment. You want to play pickle, it's fine. As long as you're happy and you're out there moving and not sitting around all day. I mean, that's the biggest thing. And too many people are sitting down instead of moving around.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is also just having fun. Like at the end of the day, like I mean, I can go out with 4 of my friends who've never played, and I can have a fun time. Or and it's anything. Anytime you can have fun, for me is.
Well, that's a pro of pickle. It's very social.
Yeah,
right.
Very
You
social.
Can hang out, have a drink, chill, play some pickle, play a game. It's not. Because it's always doubles. You're gonna get 4 people out there. It's not as competitive unless you're in a tournament. It's very, very social.
And I feel like it's also not as time consuming as tennis.
Correct.
You know, I mean, you can go and play. You can play like maybe 5 games to 11, and you can be done. And that's gonna maybe take you an hour, and if that. Which in tennis, of course, you're playing 2 sets, and that could take you an hour and a half to almost 2 hours. So I think that's
another pro. Yeah.
Another
pro. A lot of pro. I think he's got all the pros. I think it's all pros. All pros, like a poet. But no, you're right. It's a shorter amount of time. You can play 4 or 5 games, and you can be done. It's cool. Yeah, you're right. And tennis used to be the pro to golf, because golf would take 5 hours, right? And tennis is only take an hour and a half. Now pickle's even abbreviated to that. Mm-hmm. So, anything else in regards to pros and cons? I think we covered a decent amount. I'd say, again, to reiterate, as long as you're out there, that's the biggest thing. Get out there, try something, whatever level you are, try something that challenges you and makes you a better person. Challenge yourself, be uncomfortable, right? How did you learn how to walk? You fell, someone picked you up, and you fell again. They didn't just leave you down there, or they didn't carry you around. Do something that makes you fall down a little bit, and makes you have to test your ability, test your wherewithal. It's all in the work. People just, in general don't like to work as much as they used to. And they should. That's all it's about. As long as you're working at something and progressing. Key to happiness, right?
And having fun.
Yes. Santi, enjoy. Hopefully this helped. Enjoy the podcast. Share it. You'll see it on whatever podcasts are, right?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you. Hey, everybody. Hope you like the podcast. Please share it with your friends. Anybody that you know, anybody that's into tennis, anybody that's into bettering themselves, share it.